Hey guys, today I want to talk to you a little bit about HOA fees. With the market being so crazy right now and agents and people scrambling to put offers on property, I'm seeing a lot of the education that should be happening for a client. It's just kind of getting pushed to the wayside because people are trying to just put an offer on something so fast. And one of the biggest problems I'm seeing with that is that these home buyers are not getting educated on all of the different HOA fees, and there is a ton of them, especially in the suburbs of Houston. You've got all these master plan communities, and most of those have pretty significant fees, and they can add up really quickly, especially if you have a first-time home buyer. They have a really limited amount of money that they're bringing to the closing table. $1,000 in fees, it can sometimes make or break them. It make them really stress out and make the entire home buying situation very uncomfortable or miserable, in fact. So HOA fees are not always relevant, but there's typically at least some small ones. Even on smaller neighborhoods, you've got some type of HOA fee. So not every fee, not every house in every neighborhood has the same fees. Some have much more than others, but I'm going to go through a list of all of the different HOA fees that could apply. Every now and then there's houses out there that have almost every single one of these fees. So if you are a home buyer or you're thinking about buying a home, you really need to be educated on these fees before you go put an offer on the house. The very first fee, there's something called a transfer fee. The HOA charges a fee to transfer the old homeowners all their internal paperwork and everything in their back office. They transfer all that information into the new homeowner's name, and they charge a fee for that. It's usually around $250, but it could be different. It could be more. And usually the buyer pays for that. There's also something called the delivery fee. And if you are financing the home, the lender sometimes will require that the HOA deliver them this huge file full of everything to do with the subdivision. Their future plans, any type of stat or anything you can think of on that neighborhood is going to be in this packet, in this file. And sometimes the lender requires that to be a part of your file, or they will not finance you. So there are some neighborhoods out there that charge upwards of $600 or $700 to deliver this information. And then sometimes if you're in a multiple offer situation and you promised that you were going to close quickly, this is one of those things that you're gonna have to pay a rush fee over and above the regular fee. So the delivery fee, if the lender requires it, it can get pretty pricey, and typically the buyer's gonna pay for that. The seller's gonna be like, why would I pay for something that you need to buy this house? Something else that usually if you go under contract, a few days after you go under contract, the title company is going to send you a link and say you need to pay for this resale certificate. Somebody needs to pay for it. It's usually sent to the buyer. If you have to put a rush on that, the rush cost is usually around $300. So a resale certificate can start costing anywhere from $200 to $500, and that's right after you go under contract. So you just put your earnest money down, you paid an option fee, you paid for a bunch of inspections, who knows what else you've paid for, and then all of a sudden a few days later you get hit with a link that says you need to pay $300, $400, $500 for a resale certificate. So you need to be prepared for that. The next thing is there are annual dues. So find out what your annual dues are. When you move in the house, at closing, you're going to pay a prorated amount for however long you're living in the house that year. So if you close on a house in June, you're only going to have to pay for months June through December of annual dues. But when January comes around, you're going to get invoiced for your annual dues for that year. And be prepared for what those are. They are not included in your monthly mortgage payment. It's a lump sum that's going to be due at the beginning of the year. In addition to that, some houses have a gate fee. So if you're a house in a master plan community where the annual dues are $1,000 a year, but your house is gated, you are also going to have a gate fee. So you're going to pay a little bit more than the person that doesn't live in a gated section. In addition to that, if you are in a townhome, you're going to pay a maintenance fee. So you might have annual dues plus a gate fee plus a maintenance fee. People cry about the maintenance fee. Sometimes it makes it difficult for people to get financed on a townhome because the lender will take into consideration that monthly maintenance fee you have to pay, and it does factor into your DTI and how much you're going to get approved for as a monthly payment. But you need to be prepared for that. That monthly maintenance fee does cover some really important stuff for the house, and it counteracts some other expenses that you could possibly have if you owned a single family home, but you still need to be prepared for that. In one of the popular master plan communities around the Sugar Land area, if you're in a say a $300,000 townhome, your monthly maintenance fee is somewhere around $400 in addition to your monthly payment and in addition to your annual dues. There is another fee called either a reserve fee or a foundation fee. This is typically, it's anywhere between 0.25 to 1% of the purchase price of the home. So if you're buying a house in one of these communities where they charge a foundation fee, if you're buying a luxury home especially, it's going to be a pretty big chunk. It can get to be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 at closing that you weren't expecting to pay. Typically, the seller has to pay the foundation fee, but at the end of the day, if you guys are negotiating closing costs, you can't be really sure where those funds are going to get allocated, and you might have to compensate for some of that cost. A cap fee is typically, in most neighborhoods, the capitalization fee is an amount equal to 1 year of annual dues. So if your annual dues for your neighborhood are $1,000, when you buy that house, you might have to make an additional $1,000 payment, which is called a cap fee, and that fee goes into a completely different fund, and it helps redo sidewalks, maintain parks, pools, etc., different kinds of things, the roads. There's a plethora of items and stuff in a neighborhood that these fees go to cover. One other thing that can happen, one other fee that you can incur if you're buying a condo or a high-rise or a mid-rise, there's something called an assessment that can be done on the property, and this is done by the HOA, and they'll assess the building and they'll decide if there's any updates or repairs that need to be made, and they'll take that amount, one lump sum, and then let's say it's $200,000, they're going to take that $200,000, divide it by the number of units in the building, and then they're going to charge every single person that owns a unit in the building their portion that they're responsible for of that assessment fee. So they split that $200,000 amount that they need to redo the building. They split it amongst all of the people that own the units in the building. So if you have a client that's about to buy a condo or a mid-rise, you need to find out if there's been an assessment on that building, and if so, is the owner of the condo that your buyer wants, make sure that the current owner is current on paying the assessment fee that they're responsible for, the portion of the assessment fee. So there are a ton of different HOA fees that you can get hit with throughout the whole entire process that you're responsible for. You also need to know after you close on the house, a couple months after you close, you might be getting hit with your annual dues or something else that you weren't prepared for. So make sure that you're aware of all of these. If you have questions about them, you can contact me and ask me, but if you have a realtor, you need to communicate with them to get answers on those. So I hope this helps, and have a great day.